Welcome to session 11 of the Lawson Fuse Masterclass. Today we're going to be looking at how to work out the required fuse rating for a motor. I'll be referring to one of our current time graphs and also some data within our catalogue and on the Lawson Fuses website. There are obviously many types of motors, but I'll be going through some suggested options for a direct online start motor and an assisted start motor. I'm making the assumption that both motors will be 3-phase 415 volts AC. There are a couple of basic calculations that we need to understand. Firstly, for a direct online start motor, the current rating you are looking for is calculated from 7 times the full load current for 10 seconds. Full load current is abbreviated to FLC. The figures mean that you need a current rating that will allow 7 times the full load current and will not operate or melt within 10 seconds. You can use the time current graphs that are within our data sheets for this purpose. Okay, let's do an example. Let's say we're looking for a fuse for a 22 kilowatt motor with a full load current of 41 amps. 7 times 41 amps is 287 amps. So we're going to look on the current time graph to see which fuse rating will withstand this current for 10 seconds. Let me show you. Let's open our NT datasheet and go to the time current graph. From our last 2 sessions, you should be familiar with this type of curve and how to read it. So remember, the direct online start motor formula is 7 times full load current within 10 seconds. The full load current is 41 amps. Multiply this by 7, which is 287 amps. You would generally round this up to 290. This exercise is a little different to last time. We have a known time, 10 seconds, and a known current. We're just looking to see which curve is above the point where the 2 figures meet. So let's go to 290 amps on the right hand side. That's 100, 200, that's 300. So 290, somewhere around there. We'll draw a line across this point. So that's your 290 amp line. Now let's make a line from a 10-second point upwards. 10 seconds is here. A line up from there is that point. Now this is a crossover point where the 2 points meet there. Look at the different curves. This is a 63 amp curve. This one here, that's obviously no use, as a 63 amp fuse will melt at this point. The curve that is closest is the 80 amp curve, this curve here. But note how close this is to the mark though. Bear in mind there will be some tolerancing on the values, so you need to make sure there is some space between the mark and your chosen curve. So in this case, it will make sense to move to the 100 amp curve. This seems like a good choice as it is close to the current, but does have some space to allow some leeway in between here. So we'll stay with the 100 amp fuse curve because it's higher but closest to the value. The recommended fuse link for a direct online start motor with full load current of 41 amps is a 63M 100 fuse link, or you can use a standard GG 100 amp fuse link. Let's do the same calculation for an assisted start motor. The formula for an assisted start motor is 3.5 times full load current for 20 seconds. In this case, the full load current is 41 amps. Multiplied by 3.5 is 143.5 amps for 20 seconds. So we'll round this up to 145 amps. If we go to the same current time graph again and find the 145 amp point, that's 100, that's 200, 145 is somewhere around there. We'll bring the line across. And then we'll move up from 20 seconds, that's 10 seconds, 20 seconds is there. We'll bring that up. So you can see when the 2 points meet, the 22nd point on the low axis and 145 amps on right hand axis. This is the point where it meets. So at the crossover point, you can see the mark is just below the 50 amp curve. Again, it is quite close, but there is some space between the mark and the 50 amp curve. So for a resistant start motor of 41 amps full load current, the recommended fuse would be 32M50 or a GG 50 amp fuse link. Of course, these are general recommendations, so if you do have problems with false failures, you simply upgrade to the next rating, which will be a GG 63 amp fuse link. Okay, so that's how you work out the correct fuse rating for a motor. I hope you found it interesting. Next time, I will be showing you a quick method of finding these values out. Don't forget to follow, share and comment. Thank you. Bye.